Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomenon, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
This is A Different Perspective with Kevin Randle. Kevin is a retired United States Army Lieutenant Colonel who has studied UFOs for more than 50 years. His military training has provided him with unique insight into military operations and UFO research. Kevin has investigated many of the most mysterious cases and has been consulted for dozens of documentaries and been interviewed on hundreds of radio and television programs about UFOs. Considered to be one of the leading experts on the Roswell UFO crash, Kevin has written more than 25 books about UFOs, including Roswell in the 21st Century and Encounter in the Desert, a re-examination of the Socorro UFO landing. Now here's the host of A Different Perspective, Kevin Randle.
And welcome to this edition of A Different Perspective. I'm Kevin Randle. Before I introduce my guest tonight, Michael Hall, I'm going to go on another one of my rants, but this I hope will be a brief one. For those of you paying attention, you'll know that Brian Williams, several days ago, went on the air on his network and said that if Michael Bloomberg had, who spent $500 million on his campaign, he could have given $1 million to every American citizen. He should have done that instead. Nobody fact-checked that. Nobody said this is absolutely preposterous. That doesn't make any sense. They went on the air, they put up graphics and did everything, which leads me into why I chase footnotes. And it's because you read a book that's published today and there's footnotes in it, and you go back and you look at the footnotes, but how many people look at to see if that source of the footnote is accurate? That's what chasing footnotes is about, chasing it to its extreme. And one of the best examples I can think of is in the 1960s and 70s when they were doing books about ancient astronauts and mysterious artifacts found. There was a story about this metallic vessel blown out of solid rock. I think it was in Massachusetts. I always had in my mind it was like a gravy boat type thing because they talked about it being a vessel. But I've seen pictures of it since, and it's more bell-shaped, like bell-shaped than vessel-shaped. Anyway, the point simply is everybody quoted the Scientific American from 1852. Well, in the 1970s, the 1970s, I was studying at the University of Iowa, and they have a big library of bound periodicals, which included the Scientific American back into the 19th century. So I looked it up. I went and found the actual original article. And if you had read that first, you would have realized it was probably a joke created by the Freemasons back in the time, because it said the metal vessel had been created by Tubal-Cain, who was supposedly a biblical blacksmith and who was important to the mythology of the Masons. And there were other clues that this was not a legitimate story type thing, that it had been blown out of proportion. The point simply is, when we're reading these books and they have footnotes and you take a look at the footnote, sometimes it just behooves you to take it to the next step to see what the ultimate source says and see if we can pin down some of that information. And that's why I chase footnotes on my blog periodically, which is hard to do. It's hard to find a footnote to chase that really proves the point, but sometimes it does do that. The other thing I want to say quickly is, remember, the Best of Project Blue Book will be published on April 1st, and that was my book that I've just completed that deals with a lot of the cases from Project Blue Book, but with information that I gathered long since Blue Book closed, and that'll be out on April 1st. I am going to be joined here momentarily by Michael Hall, who is known as the Paranormal Lawyer. He's an attorney, a doctor of jurisprudence. I cannot speak English, and a former Supreme Court Judge Pro Tem. He's a certified mediator and a founding partner of the Hall Law Firm. Michael received his bachelor's degree in 1976 from Edward R. Murrow College of Communications at Washington State University in broadcast journalism, obviously, if it's the Murrow Award, and has a Doctor of Jurisprudence got it in just 2 years from Southwestern Law School in Los Angeles. He has taught legal seminars and conflict management courses for the Washington State Bar Association and the Boeing Management Association, and currently maintains a general legal and estate planning practice in Seattle, Washington, where he also finds time to serve as pro bono legal counsel for various local and national nonprofits. Now moving into the UFO arena, he is an experienced UFO field investigator for the Aero Phenomenon Research Organization. When I read something like that, I always want to say, well, who isn't? Because I was too. Hall is a longtime consultant to the Mutual UFO Network, and attorney of record for the National UFO Reporting Center, which, of course, is in Washington as well. He's an experiencer himself. Michael has also represented such noted ufologists and researchers as Grant Cameron, Chief Petty Officer Kevin Day, who is involved with the Tic Tac things, Peter Davenport, and Dr. Richard Haynes, and Dr. James Harder. After all of that, Michael Hall, we've run out of time, so it was nice having you on the show. No, welcome to A Different Perspective.
Oh, Kevin, thank you very much. And you'll never know how appropriate or otherwise it is when you mention the idea of jurisprudence. I think that's fantastic. I used to be as well the vice president of Puget Sound Christian College for many years out here in the Seattle area. And so I'm a faith-based guy as well, but it's actually jurisprudence,
yes,
which is, of course, the study of law. And I just want to make sure people, I'm not the Judas out there in the neighborhood. So
I have trouble with the English language, and unfortunately, it's my native tongue. So there you go.
I know we're all stuck with that for sure. It's a real pleasure to be here with you, Kevin. Thank you so much for asking me to come on and have a little conversation with you today.
Well, let's start with the UFOs. How'd you get interested in the UFO field?
I've people will ask, and I always ask myself, how did you get started in this thing? I've been in it over 40 years, not as long as yourself, but literally, I can't point to a point in my life where I all of a sudden saw a major sighting report, maybe as a child, or had an abduction experience. I had never had those. I was just always interested in this whole idea of the paranormal, not just UFOs, but Bigfoot and mysteries and a little bit of everything. So when I grew up, I kept doing all of these things. Joined APRO in the 70s and did MUFON and all that stuff. I'm still a consultant for MUFON, but I just always was doing that. And then, of course, when I went to law school, I was able to meld my profession of being a lawyer into the idea of helping some of my colleagues and friends in the UFO and paranormal field. So I've been, working with some of the heavyweight folks in the community for a long time, helping them with their legal issues, periodically coming up like forming their legal entities, for tax purposes and corporate issues. And I even helped Peter Davenport purchase his abandoned Nike missile site in eastern Washington, where he moved the National UFO Reporting Center. So all sorts of strange things come up over the years.
Well, I know that you said you're an experiencer. Does that mean you think you've been abducted?
Yes. Short answer, yes. And that happened late in life. In January of 2012, January 10th to be exact, I have a really astonishing episode of missing time that is kind of corroborated with some scientific evidence as well on my iPhone and CPAP machine. I'm a sleep apneiac, like some of us out there. And so I've got some real interesting empirical evidence, let's say. If I had to take this to a court of law and show by a preponderance of the evidence, not a beyond a reasonable doubt standard like the criminal standard is, but by preponderance of the evidence, meaning just over 50% of the evidence would point towards the truth or veracity of an issue. I believe I could prove the fact that there's some very interesting things that happened to me on that night. We can go into it anytime you want, but I don't want to take up the whole show just by talking about my experience.
Well, that's one of the things I want to explore. And you're also formed, I guess, the UFOiTEAM, which is an investigative organization.
Yes, yeah, definitely. We decided quite a few years ago to get together some of our very serious and experienced field investigators to form a group called the UFOiTEAM. And we have quite a range of scientific consultants out there that help us in that regard, coming up with various evidence that we do. And we have technical gear, Kevin, like you wouldn't believe. I mean, we've got guys on our team that are inventing things. We've of course got the standard FLIR photography, night vision. We've got stop action photography, all that kind of stuff. But we've got a gentleman by the name of Dave Mason who has literally invented a pair of high-powered binoculars that can turn light frequency into sound, and basically put it on an oscilloscope, the sound frequencies, and then we can verify whether it's an anomalous object or not, whether it's an airplane, whether it's a meteor, whether it's an ISS space station.
Let me interrupt you right here because I'm going to have to take a break because it's that time. Sure. I'm speaking with Michael Hall, who is involved in jurisprudence. Have to say, I suppose. I will have additional information available on my blog at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com in the next couple of days that deal with what we've talked about today and links to other things as well. His website is www.facebook.com UFOiTEAM Insiders to take a look at that. We will be back right after this, so please stick around.
Patty Conklin grew up in Brooktondale, New York with a unique ability. Unlike others, she could see how the vibration of words and emotions affected the physical body. She discovered how to release stored emotion and facilitate healing. This began today's Conklin method of cellular cleansing. The private practice grew with tremendous results, as did her reputation. More and more people sought her out, bringing her into the home for healing. She soon realized she could even teach this to others, and they could shift perception and thus prevent illness from occurring. Patty Conklin quickly became a frequent keynote speaker, and she developed a curriculum for teaching the Conklin method of cellular cleansing. For more information, visit pattyconklin.com. PattiConklin, PattiConklin.com, or call 404-474-0086. That's 404-474-0086.
Mission Evolution is dedicated to the well-being of the planet and animals, as well as the evolution of humankind. One major factor threatening all three is increasing toxicity. Heavy metals and other environmental toxins are poisoning our bodies, deteriorating our brains, blocking our spiritual connection, and shortening our lives. Yet these poisons are extremely difficult to remove. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, and I recently became aware of a product created from the marriage of nature and nanotechnology called Vitality. It's formulated from zoolite, whose crystalline structure binds toxins, gently carrying them out of the body. The light is only as clear as the window through which it shines. Clear your body, shine your light into the world. Visit vitalityhappens.com for a 20% discount. Enter code PATHHOME.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
I am joined by Michael Hall, member of the UFOiTEAM, an experiencer. When we went away, we were talking a little bit about the I-team, and I want to, of course, get back into the abduction aspect of it as well. And you were mentioning that you've got a bunch of technical equipment that you've sort of invented yourself, including binoculars that will change light beams into sound.
Yeah, exactly. Dave Mason and Lee Strauss on our UFI team are the real techie camera guys. And Dave has created this, he's actually patented it as well, this high-powered pair of binoculars that turns any light frequency, even a distant star, into sound. And we can put it on an oscilloscope to determine, whether it's a known object or not. So once we find something anomalous in the night sky, typically it's a lot easier to get the light that way. We can actually reverse the process and send that same light frequency, or turn the sound into light again, send that frequency right back to the object emitting it. So here we are at a CE5 potential out there, being able to.
Well, let's define our term. CE5 would be a close encounter of the fifth kind, which is.
Yes, and that is basically termed by Dr. Richard Haynes as human-initiated contact with intelligences that are not of this planet. So basically, it's, Stephen Greer is into this as well. A lot of groups out there now are trying to do CE5 protocols to have contact, with off-worldly entities, etc. So the idea being is, if we can find a real anomalous craft flying above in the night sky, we can actually send their own light signature right back to them. And of course, at that point, it's a two-edged sword. It's like, well, okay, the kids have found the matches, and now they know who we are, or whether it's going to potentially facilitate this contact that we are trying to develop in this whole idea of figuring out if there's a way we can get along with the rest of the folks in the cosmos if they're out there.
Well, how often do you find an anomalous object in the sky?
Quite often. Yeah, definitely. with this FLIR photography, night vision, this ability for us to see out there in the range of spectrum that our eyes cannot see, it's almost any night we go out that's a clear sky, we can pick up anomalous objects, cigar-shaped, triangular-shaped, tic-tac shaped. And there's a huge story behind that one as well. So it's amazing what we are able to put up on our Facebook page at UFOiTEAM, so the public can get up to speed on literally what's going on above their own heads at any time.
If you're having nightly sightings, how come the rest of us aren't seeing a lot of anomalous things in the sky?
Well, not a lot of us are having all of this equipment that we have. That's why we want to make sure that our sighting reports and our video that we capture are out there on YouTube and Facebook and whatever we can get it out to the social media. But yeah, matter of fact, one of my clients, Peter Davenport, from the National UFO Reporting Center, is telling me that sighting reports are indeed up big time. Ever since, by the way, the New York Times article came out, confirming the existence of UAP back in December 16th of 2017. It seems like people are realizing now, oh my gosh, the mainstream media is talking about this stuff. I had a sighting back in the old days and never said anything about, so maybe it's time to come out and talk about it, or at least report it. So I think the sighting reports are actually up.
But the sighting report doesn't necessarily translate into a alien spacecraft.
Yes, of course. And Peter Davenport is very clear about that. Most of the sighting reports that he gets are, misrepresentations of known objects.
Do you have a similar problem that a lot of the things you think that might be anomalous are natural phenomena or something like that may give you a sort of an anomalous signature, but it really isn't a spacecraft?
Well, not in our regard, because we've got the equipment to discern that. But in the reports that we get from the general public, there's the vast majority of them are misidentified objects of natural origin or man-made origin. But when we can get out there and maybe confirm or repeat the sightings that some people are telling us about, we can tell pretty much right away whether these things are obeying the way a natural or a known object would be, and or some of the signatures that we have found in our research indicating that this is definitely an anomalous object.
Could some of this be an artifact of the equipment you're using that's not properly calibrated or something like that? Because it seems to me that you're getting an awful lot, from what you're saying, you're getting an awful lot of sightings of alien spacecraft, and I find that a little bit disturbing.
Well, you're right on board with us as well, because we had no idea that these things are so prevalent that we are capturing them. And we do have multiple cameras. We have probably 5 to 10 cameras, 8 to 10 cameras going on at the same time with different characteristics and capabilities. So we have a pretty high level of discernment in artifacts from the cameras themselves and those kinds of things. So we try to vet our own evidence as well, for sure.
But you're saying that these things are out there every night. Where's the Air Force?
Well, that's a great question. And of course, we know that the Nimitz UFO encounter has found that at least the Navy, and of course then the Air Force on the East Coast during the Roosevelt encounters as well, are simply outpaced by
Let me interrupt you here. The Roosevelt encounters are similar to the Navy's, the Nimitz's Tic Tac, for those that may not have connected everything.
Yeah, on the East Coast rather than the West Coast for the Nimitz encounter. Yeah, it's been fascinating ever since, of course, the 2004 episode was the Nimitz UFO encounters off of the coast of San Diego. Then 2015 was off the East Coast with the Roosevelt carrier group as well. So these things are happening, and more often, sounds like the Navy, the military, the Air Force are now coming out and confirming the existence of these things happening and the fact that they don't know what they are. It's just very disturbing. You're right.
Well, the thing that really disturbs me about all of this is the fact that we're using an awful lot of technology that you yourself said was just invented, and that we may be creating sightings where there really is nothing there based on technical flaws in the equipment or misinterpretation of the signals captured by the equipment.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that everything that we see is 100% anomalous, but you're right, Kevin. There is that margin of error that we have to take in consideration. But then again, the bottom line is, even if one of these sightings is true and has veracity, we are in a whole nother world. And so that's what we're preparing ourselves for.
Do you have any sightings where you've got people at multiple locations that are kind of independent of one another, photographing and observing the same object?
We have, I don't believe have videotape up now of the same object from two different locations. That would be a real good thing for us to attempt to do. We do have anecdotal evidence of videotape that we took of anomalous objects, for instance, over Mount Adams coming at us and flashing and basically just flashing out our monitors and turning off our cameras. We've got that videotape, and then we've got witnesses from a different part, like a 90-degree angle of that same sighting field, saying that they saw an actual blue laser kind of light coming out of this object hitting our location where our cameras were. So that's the closest we would come to any kind of a 3D double experience of one incident.
Well, you said you had anecdotal testimony, anecdotal evidence. If we were in a court, what kind of weight would be given to anecdotal testimony?
Well, it's the preponderance of the evidence when you come to the civil standard of proof of guilt or not.
But what's the scientific standard? What's the scientific standard?
Well, the scientific standard, of course, is very rigid. That's repeatable and recordable evidence. Something that you could not just repeat on a bulk basis, but every time. That's the scientific standard.
And you haven't approached that yet?
No, I don't know anybody who has, for sure. At all.
But it seems to me what you're saying is you've got the capability of doing this because of your UFOiTEAM investigations, the equipment you have, and you could be at separate locations observing the same object and creating that sort of evidence.
Yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, just recently, last summer, we went to Takalak Lake down in southwestern Washington State, middle Washington State, and had a camera crew on top of Mount Adams at about 8,000 feet, actually at lunch counter, which is a part of the mountain just before the summit. We had them up there, and we had our cameras down at Takalaka Lake trying to get that exact same evidence that you're talking about, Kevin.
Well, let me interrupt you.
Let me interrupt
you here, yeah. Because once again, I've got to take a break.
All right.
These things happen every 12 minutes, whether I like it or not. I'm talking to Michael Hall. He is with the founder of the UFOiTEAM, and he is an experiencer. And we're going to get into that here in just a few minutes here and learn a little bit more about that. My blog is www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. The book is Roswell in the 21st Century, and of course, Counters in the Desert, which is about Socorro. And coming up in just a couple of weeks is the Best of Project Blue Book. I will be back right after this with Michael Hall, so stick around.
Audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com. or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light.
Join Patty Conklin and Healing Within Radio each week. More than entertainment, Healing Within offers educational, useful tools for everyday life. Listen for help overcoming fear, anxiety, and depression. Patty knows about eliminating cancer, MS, dementia, Parkinson's, and a host of illnesses that we face every day. Life can be good. Life is good. All you need are simple tools to start changing your life. Start right now by visiting pattyconklin.com, PATTICONKLIN. No matter where you are in the world, you can work with Patty through Skype, phone, or in person, visiting one of her retreats in Georgia. Visit pattyconklin.com today or call our offices at 404-474-0086. That's pattyconklin.com or call 404-474-0086.
Coming soon to the X Zone Broadcast Network is A Different Perspective with me, Kevin Randle, as your host. We'll be taking a close look at what is happening in the world of UFOs today with side trips into the paranormal. Guests will range from those who are household names to those who have a different perspective on a variety of topics. No topic will be taboo, but there will be tough questions asked as we all search for the truth about UFOs, the paranormal, and those things that excite us. Sometimes we'll agree with a guest and sometimes we won't, but we'll try to keep the program topical. For those of you who would like to read, be sure to visit www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com and remember to listen to the other fine programs on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. As promised, I am here with Michael Hall. We were talking about his attempt to observe the same object from separate locations and, I guess, gather photographic evidence and other sorts of evidence. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the names of the places in Washington because I couldn't even do jurisprudence earlier, so we'll give up on that. So you had a group up at 8,000 feet and another group at the lake level, and you were attempting to gather evidence from both locations. What happened?
Yeah, we're not able to get corroborative evidence on tape at the very same time, but the real strange coincidence was that at the top of the mountain, they had a sighting at about 3:30 a.m. in the morning. Kind of strange timing as well, of lights playing on the top of their tents as they were sleeping in the snowfield at the top of Mount Adams, that literally woke them up. They were so bright, coming down from the top of the sky to their tents rather than from the side, like, for instance, any other summiting hikers would come from the side. At the same time, we were at the lake then, our car batteries died on our vehicles, because some people sleep in their vehicles when we're out on our expeditions, sky watches, because in the middle of the night they try to turn their cars on to get warm again. And at the same time, 3:30 in the morning, two of our three car batteries died and they couldn't start their vehicles. At the same time, my CPAP machine, which I sleep with every night because I have sleep apnea, stopped working as well. And of course, we ended up, when we added all this stuff together in the morning around the campfire, found out that my CPAP machine only recorded an hour and 20 minutes of use that night, which is strange because you can get a printout on your iPhone of, the sleep report that you had the night before or the week before or the month before. And that was the only night within that whole period that I got hardly any sleep for some reason. So anyway, just stuff like that happens to us all the time, and we're trying to get this scientifically proved that we've got some things going on here that need to have more analysis done.
Well, let's move off into the realm of alien abduction. Now, I know when I was reading some of the stuff, you said you had found some markings on your body back in as early as 1991, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Had problems with your shoulder that you thought might be related in some form, but you didn't remember an experience, or you weren't aware of an experience prior to 2010?
Yes. What a memory you've got there.
Well, I pay attention.
Yes.
What? Well, fill us in on some of the details here. I mean,
sure.
We know from others that these markings on the body may be associated with alien abduction, but they also might be associated with just common things that happen when you are sleeping.
Yeah.
Tell me about the abduction, the experience.
All right. Yeah. Of course, some of these scoop marks and things that bumps that appear on your skin were prior to this, but on January 10th of 2012, I'm coming home from my son's middle school parent meeting. Of course, as a parent, you always go to these school meetings periodically. And I was going through a kind of it was not kind of, it was a horrific divorce at the time. So I had to prove that I was involved in my children's schooling like I always had been. So at the school parent meeting, I literally signed in on the sign-in sheet at about 6:45 and took a photograph of the sign-in sheet just for my own purposes and in my divorce process. And then
being a lawyer, you wanted evidence.
I'm always thinking, of course, you're your own worst enemy when you're your own lawyer for sure. But I wanted to have proof that I was there. And then the meeting happens an hour and a half later, and then it's over, and I go home. And I'm only living four minutes from the school, so it takes me about few minutes to get home in the middle of the winter. Beautiful dark sky out, no stars out, but a beautiful full moon that night at about 8:37 p.m. when I get out of the car, walk up to the house, and I decide for some reason to take out my little old iPhone 4S at the time and take 2 photographs of the moon, 1 second apart. I don't know why I did it, because I know, when you look at a photograph of the moon or something like that, the night sky with your iPhone, it's just not very impressive. But the next morning I go to my office and plug in my phone to my laptop, and of course to charge it back up again. And what it does, it prompts me immediately to download any new photographs, which I do. And all of a sudden on the screen of the laptop, my full moon picture is much bigger. And I'm noticing that below the moon, there is a red dot hovering below the moon. And I'm going, that's impossible. I know my neighborhood. I know where I took the photo. There's nothing there. I put it through, I'm trying to rush through this to make it real quick for you, but I put it through an app that enhances photographs. And literally there is a isosceles triangular craft or object hovering below the moon with a red glowing light in the middle of it. So basically, I'm just so curious. I get to my camera roll and I start going, what is this? Is this a glitch? Is this an artifact or whatever? And I notice that all of a sudden, these 2 pictures of the moon with the artifact in it are literally before the photograph that I took of the sign-in sheet at the parent meeting the night before. And I'm going, that's impossible. I took a picture of the sign-in sheet first, then came home, took pictures of the moon. Anyway, long story short, Kevin, the metadata on my camera roll says that those 2 pictures of the moon and this craft below the moon were taken 17 hours earlier that same day at 3:37 a.m. and not 8:37 p.m. So I've got, I've got GPS coordinates. I've got all sorts of metadata on there that confirms supposedly that both of these photographs were taken within a minute or of each other, but not taken when I thought they were taken. That's just a weird missing time thing that I've experienced.
But then you have no memory of being on a ship or anything like that?
I don't. I do not have any conscious, and that bugs the heck out of me as a analytical thinker. The idea being that I could swear on a stack of Bibles as the former vice president of Puget Sound Christian College that I took 2 pictures of the moon in front of my house at 8:37 p.m. And supposedly that didn't happen.
Well, the question I need to ask here, and I hesitate to ask it of a good Christian man, but how much do you drink?
I never, one of my things is being a pro tem judge for the Superior Court. I have to, levy sentences on drunk drivers all the time, or I did back in those days. I never drink if I have to drive. I'm not saying I don't drink. Because
I'm not implying that at all. It just seems that the memory is all screwed up, but you have no memory of really being abducted. You have a case for missing time or taking photographs when you weren't in a sequence you don't precisely remember.
Yeah, exactly.
That really doesn't lead us into alien abduction, does it?
No, not yet. It sure doesn't. It's just kind of, again, is that strange evidence of something unique happening to you in life that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, that obviously demands a little bit more scrutiny and, analytical analysis for sure. So that's what we're all about on the UFOiTEAM, taking people's anecdotal evidence and see if they have any scientific evidence at all and trying to correlate the two.
Well, how many people on the I-Team are abductees, experiencers?
We have at least 2 on our current team of about 10 to 15. Lee Strauss is one of them, a gentleman who has some horrendous actual recovered memories from not hypnosis, but a process called EMDR. Eye movement desensitization process, which the Vietnam vets have used, or at least the doctors have used on Vietnam vets to help them get over this post-traumatic stress syndrome of being abducted and having an actual needle put in the back of his neck. That just the pain was horrendous, and all of a sudden the pain was taken away by an entity that was next to him aboard a craft. Supposedly abducted for some kind of experimental purposes.
Has he been multiply abducted?
He believes he has during his lifetime. As some people report, this seems to follow a genetic pattern of family members over a long period of time, potentially.
Does the logistics of such a thing bother you at all? I mean, you're talking about having to have literally dozens of spaceships flying around the Earth, and if it happens here in the United States to the level it's been suggested, then it must be happening around the world as well, and it would seem to suggest a huge fleet of craft that would lend themselves to at least being outed at some point.
Yeah, it does. It's an anomalous idea that this could even go on above our skies and on a nightly basis, potentially. And it also brings up the idea of the issue of the old cattle mutilations happening as well, potentially around the planet at the same time.
Before we divert into cattle mutilations, let me take our last break here.
Great.
And just point out that there are some other fine programs about the paranormal on the X Zone Broadcast Network. So take a look at the website, and you can scroll down, see what programs are there, and the ones that might fire your interest you can take a look at. I will put up additional information on my blog at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And never forget that I'm always pushing books, because frankly, I need to do that. We will be back right after this with Michael Hall and finishing up our interview on alien abductions.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Memorable dynamic presentations are a not-so-secret weapon in the business world. Do you have a powerful message that must be shared, but you haven't found a way to deliver that message? Do you want to be known as a top public speaker who gets amazing results? Are you ready to create and deliver your powerful message? Thomas Hides can help you create and deliver your speech to get the results you desire. Visit iconquality.com.
Did you expect your business to flourish, but instead it plateaued or didn't get off the ground yet? Would you like to achieve massive goals and discover new sources of income within your business? When you're ready to experience that type of success with fast results, Cindy Hendricks is the business coach for you. Her work with entrepreneurs and business owners has been life-changing. To get you and your business where you want to be, go to imaginemoresuccess.com.
Has the fear of public speaking stalled your business or personal life? What would you give to develop and maintain supreme confidence? Have an invaluable private program to always perform at your best. Imagine how you would feel. You can have all that and so much more today with Thomas Hides' life-changing course called Number One Fear Unleashed. Visit numberonefear.com and be liberated from your fear of public speaking.
Joined by Michael Hall, who is the founding member of the UFOiTEAM, possible abductee. And when we went away, we were talking a little bit about alien abduction, and I was pointing out that one of the things that bothered me about this is the number of people who claim to be abducted and the number of times each one of them claims to be abducted, which suggests a fleet of UFOs over the United States. And if we have that problem in the United States, wouldn't that be a problem around the world? And it seems to me at that point, we would have the evidence that we're being visited because there would be so much of it going on. Does that bother you at all?
Oh, it does. It's a two-edged sword that it bothers me. It bothers me that it possibly could be happening, and it bothers me that potentially it's being suppressed, this evidence as well. So either way,
could be misinterpreted as opposed to suppressed.
Of course, it could be, for sure. There's always that wiggle room factor when you talk about anecdotal evidence. And even under hypnosis, of course, it's not something that is, is surefire at all. But when you put a lot of things together, that's when you need to be discerning on the evidence that's, brought forth. And it seems to me that there's a preponderance of the evidence, again, this civil legal standard of proof, that there's something going on that's not being explained one way or another that needs further analysis for sure.
Well, what sort of things aren't being explained?
Well, the things that are not being explained are why so many people seem to have very similar reports when they come up with these abduction scenarios. People that wouldn't necessarily even believe in UFOs or have any knowledge or background in the subject, don't know each other from different parts of the world, seem to have very similar scenarios happening to them. And a skilled hypnotherapist that is a PhD, a medical doctor or whatever, comes up with this evidence that seems to be corroborative from various sources. That's very unusual.
Yeah, but all these people who are conducting the research, and I know a lot of them, are communicating with one another what they're finding. So aren't they kind of contaminating the evidence pool with their communications and communicating that to the experiencers? And what I think about is a statement that John Mack had made a number of times, which he was surprised at the linkage between the researcher and the abduction tale being told. For example, Bud Hopkins always came up with the aliens who were cold calculating scientists, and John Mack's aliens were Eastern philosophers, and David Jacobs' aliens were creating hybrids to take over the planet. And the connection isn't necessarily amongst the abductees, but there was a curious matching of the abductee to the researcher. And I turned that around thinking that maybe it's the researcher who is putting these ideas into the heads of the abductees, especially when they're in a state of hypnosis.
Yeah, well, there's obviously that to be discerning about as well, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's I wouldn't say that the researchers themselves are polluting the gene pool of experiencers. I think your observation that certain researchers kind of concentrate in certain areas of their expertise or their reports, that's something to look into for sure. The fact is that many of these researchers are out there finding stories that corroborate one another or very similar to one another from different parts around the world when the experiencers themselves don't have any contact with one another or prior evidence of any knowledge of this subject. That's the fascinating stuff for me.
And what I'm saying is the people conducting the research are pretty much all in contact. And so that you can have the contamination working from that direction as opposed to Bud Hopkins challenged people at one point to find out, to discern in his research that he was contaminating the source, find that he was leading the witness, the experiencer. And if you go back and you read the transcripts as he's published in his books, you can find areas where he has led the experiencer into the arena he wants them to go to, as opposed to them coming up with it spontaneously.
Yeah, I'm sure that you could pick out any researcher, any hypnotherapist out there and find questions that could be misleading or leading questions for sure. But when you look at the overall body of work that they do, you have to keep. It's like a trial when you go to court. You have specific evidence from a witness that you put in front of a trial, but then you also bring in corroborating or different evidence from other witnesses that give an overall picture to the jury to make that decision. So that's what we have to do in this kind of analytical field as well.
But that really doesn't answer the question of the researchers contaminating the jury pool.
Well, that's a misnomer there. They're not contaminating the jury pool. That would be the experiencers.
Well, yes.
They are basically sharing evidence amongst themselves, which you could be construed as being contaminating the actual researchers themselves. So that's the question that you have to be discerning about, is that are these researchers leading each other down a path that is incorrect, as opposed to leading the experiencers that they are researching? So it's a dichotomy there, but I don't see that as overwhelming the raw data coming from the researchers or from the experiencers themselves.
I watched James Harder do exactly that. I watched him when we were investigating the Pat Roach abduction between the hypnotic regression sessions, explaining to her, Pat Roach, about what was going on and what was happening in the world of UFOs. And then we would go into the next hypnotic regression session, and those kind of elements would be brought up in the session. And one of the things that he'd done was he had talked about the Barney and Betty Hill case, where Betty Hill talked about having the needles pushed into her navel.
Yes.
Medical examination. And the very next session, Pat Roach said specifically, I don't remember being examined, but I know I was. And I think that's a point of contamination. James Harder was attempting to corroborate the Barney and Betty Hill case by finding more cases like that, and unconsciously was feeding information to the experiencers, to the witness. I now believe Pat Roach suffered from an episode of sleep paralysis based on everything I know about the case. And since I brought Harder into it, I was the lead investigator.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a prime example of what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, that's a prime example of the idea of potentially leading a witness in that regard. And of course, that's one thing that you have to keep in mind for sure. When you look at the overall body of evidence, that's what you have to keep, kind of weighing that against as well. And of course, James Harder was the gentleman as well that did the Travis Walton, investigation as well. So, you got to take his work as a body of work as well, and kind of weigh it against, these specific cases that we can bring up from anyone, I'm sure.
Well, let's, I've got just a couple of minutes left here for you. Your I-team, is there a way for people to contact your I-team for investigative purposes if they have a sighting or something? Is there a way to get in touch with you?
Oh, of course, Kevin. Thank you for that. It's UFOiTEAM with a lowercase I and everything else capitalized on Facebook. UFOiTEAM.com is our website. And we're all over social media. You can contact us very easily in that regard. There's phone numbers on the websites as well. So we encourage people to come forth and tell us their story.
Do you publish anything on a regular basis, a newsletter or things on YouTube or other than the Facebook contacts?
No, we don't have any written newsletter or anything like that. That would be fun to get to at one point. We're too busy going out in the field and doing our sky watches and investigations, but we are now getting into the point where we can live stream our sky watches and investigations. So we're going to be doing that on Facebook and YouTube as well, so people can be there in the field with us as we're catching these anomalous objects and seeing some of the scientific evidence that we're hopefully being able to gather.
Well, thank you very much, Michael Hall, for joining us on A Different Perspective. I've found it an interesting discussion, and I hope you found it as much fun as I have.
Oh, it was awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin, for allowing me to come on and talk with you.
Okay. Well, we'll be in touch so we can see some of these things you've been streaming on, or will be streaming on through the internet. Thank you very much for joining us here on A Different Perspective.
Thank you.
As I usually say at this time, I've done a number of books. The 21st century actually gives the best analysis of where we are in that case in today's environment, tries to suck some of the nonsense out of it. I mean, there were so many people came forward in the 90s with their stories of being involved in the Roswell case, and we've been able to eliminate a lot of that nonsense and kind of drill down to the important parts of the case. And I tried to bring all of that to the forefront in Roswell in the 21st century. And of course, I did sort of the same thing with the Zamora case from Socorro, New Mexico in 1964, the landing there in Socorro, trying to get down to the basic evidence, and actually found some additional witnesses and made it a little bit better case than it was when the Air Force investigated it back then. I'll, of course, put up more information at my blog at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com, and I promise not to say anything mean about Curse of Oak Island, which I think they've solved the problem, but that's another whole story. Next week, I'm going to be joined by Kurt Collins, and we're going to be talking about the Cash Landrum case from the 1980s. It happened about the same time, December of 1980, as the Rendlesham Forest case. So there's some interesting stuff going in there. So we'll be talking to Kurt Collins about that. You've been listening to a different perspective on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Keep listening at xzbn.net, and thanks for tuning in.